Our dear learners, welcome you again in this Swayam MOOC course on environmental politics, theories, concepts, and debates. In week 7, lecture 2, titled Major International Environmental Institutions, in which we will be discussing the specialized agencies of United Nations organizations like UNEP, UNFCCC, and IPCC. Along with that, we will be discussing the different environmental mandates created by the major financial organizations like World Bank and WTO. Along with that, we will be discussing the different regional organizations and transnational network initiatives with special reference to European Union, ASEAN, and SAARC. And lastly, we will be discussing the role of non-state actors with special reference to civil society and environmental INGOs. So let's begin, learners. So here we can see that global environmental governance relies on major international institutions, which mainly includes United Nations through its specialized bodies like United Nations Environment Program, which is basically a agency for environmental policy, UNFCCC, which basically works for the climate agreements, and IPCC mainly works on scientific assessments. Along with that, financial and trade organizations like World Bank and World Trade Organizations also integrate sustainability into development and commerce. Regional bodies like European Union, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and SAARC also addresses the transboundary ecological challenges through their cooperative frameworks. Along with that, the non-state actors like INGOs, civil society, and other advocacy groups also plays a pivotal role in shaping policies, raising awareness, and holding stakeholders accountable. So here, altogether, we can see that together these entities form a multi-layered system to tackle pressing the environmental crises. So in this regard, here we will begin with the role of different specialized agencies of United Nations. And here we can see that international environmental organizations basically constitute a vital component of global environmental governance framework. And here it basically aims at protecting and conserving the environment. And here these organizations plays a important role in balancing the economic growth with the environmental sustainability. So in this context, firstly we will begin with the UNEP. And here this UNEP is what? That is a very important international authority, and here it focuses on setting a global environmental agenda and facilitating the effective implementation of the environmental dimension of the United Nations Sustainable Development Program. And if we will see its headquarters, so it is basically located in Nairobi, which is headed by an executive director. So here we can see that it is the leading international environmental organization and shaping the global environmental agenda, promoting the coherent implementation of the environmental dimensions of sustainable development within the United Nations system. And UNEP also serving as an authoritative advocate for the global environment. So overall, we can say that it plays a very crucial role in addressing the environmental issues at the global as well as regional level. Now we will be coming to the next one, that is UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and it was signed in 1992 at the UN Conference on Environment and Development. And here we can see that it constitutes the foundational climate agreement that has provided the platform for more subsequent international climate agreements. And here we can see that UNFC basically further birthed both the Kyoto Protocol of 1997 and the Paris Agreement of 2015. It enforced on March 21st, 1994, and has been ratified by around 197 countries. If we will see in structure and content, so here UNFC is basically styled as a framework conventions like the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer and the other conventions. So here we can see that the UNFC contains few specific requirements, and notably no enforceable requirement for signatories to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. And here the parties announce a goal of stabilizing greenhouse gases concentration in the atmosphere at a level that would prevent dangerous atmospheric interference with the climate system in a negative way. And developed country parties agreed to adopt national policies to mitigate climate change with the aim of returning to their 1990s levels of anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases. So here we can see that this UNFCCC was basically designed as a means to begin and support a process for future and more detailed agreements about how to respond to climate change. Now we will be coming to the next one, that is IPCC. And this IPCC is, here we can see, is a scientific body which was made in 1998 by the WMO, that is World Meteorological Organizations, and the United Nations Environment Program. And here basically its goal is to inform the governments about the latest updates of climate science, and also it explains that what kind of impacts on climate change will likely have on the world in the coming time. Presently we can see IPCC has 195 countries and brings together scientists from all over the world who contribute voluntarily to its work. And here we can see the primary function of it is to provide the world's government with the regularly updated scientific assessments of the current state of the earth climate. Along with that, we can see policy recommendations which are usually based on the likely socio-economic and environmental outcomes of a range of future emissions scenario. So here in this context, we can see that IPCC doesn't produce original research. Instead of that, we can see that hundreds of scientists examine the available scientific literature and distill it into comprehensive assessment reports. And these reports delve into what drives climate change and what is the consequences on the grounds maybe, and how mitigation limiting the climate change and adaptation can help to protect people from the worst impact of it. And along with that, the IPCC is also an official source of advice to the governments on climate science related matters. And further we can see that was also invested with that authority by the United Nations on the behalf of member states in 1988. Now we will be coming to the global trade organizations, financial organizations, that is in form of World Bank and WTO. So firstly, we will begin with the World Bank, and here we can see that the World Bank has increasingly integrated environmental sustainability into its operations. What kinds of operations? Economic policies and trade policy. And it also recognizing the critical link between development and environmental protections, like trying to emphasize on the sustainable development. And its environmental mandates basically focuses on promoting sustainable development, combating climate change, and also conserving natural resources. So here we can see like some of the major initiatives which are taken by the World Bank. And here firstly we can see the environmental and social framework, that is as ESF, which was adopted in 2016, and it sets standards to ensure that World Bank funded projects are environmentally and socially sustainable. It also includes some of the portions like environmental assessment, biodiversity conservation, pollution prevention, and community engagement. And here borrowers must conduct risk assessments and develop mitigation plans to address environmental and social impacts. Along with that, we can also see one of the major environmental mandate adopted by World Bank is the Climate Change Action Plan of 2016, which basically aligns with the Paris Agreement of 2015 and committing to increase climate-related funding to 35% of their total commitments by the year 2025. And here we can see key initiatives also includes renewable energy and climate resilience. Thirdly, we can see the biodiversity conservation, and here World Bank also supports the biodiversity conservation through their initiatives like Global Wildlife Program, which combats wildlife trafficking and protects the habitats in over 30 countries. Along with that, Forest Investment Program, that is popularly known as FIP, that is the part of Climate Investment Fund, CIFs, and also promotes sustainable forest management and reduces the deforestation. Now we will be coming to the next one, that is pollution control and sustainable cities. And here the World Bank funds projects to reduce air, water, and soil pollution, particularly in the urban or city areas. Along with that, it also promotes sustainable urban development through investments in public transportation, waste management, and green infrastructure. And lastly, we can see that it also aligns with the sustainable development goals, particularly goal 13, which is concerned with the climate action, and goal 15, which basically focuses on life on land, that is just to promote environmental sustainability and poverty reduction. Now we will be coming to the next international trade organization, that is WTO. And here we can see that it primarily focuses on global trade that has increasingly addressed environmental issues through its mandates and initiatives. And here we can see that the efforts of WTO basically aims to ensure that trade policies support environmental protection as well as the sustainable development. And here we can see the Committee on Trade and Environment. So the Committee on Trade and Environment, which was established in 1995, and here it examines the relationship between the trade and environment policies. So here we can see that it basically covers three major areas, that is about the environmental goods and services. And here we can see that it promotes trade in eco-friendly manners such as renewable energy technology. Second is about eco-labeling, and here it encourages transparent and non-discriminatory eco-labeling schemes, that is just to support sustainable consumer choices. And lastly, that is MEA, means multilateral environmental agreements, and here it basically ensures compatibility between the trade rules and international environmental agreements. Second one is about the environmental goods agreements, that is popularly known as EGA, and here it basically aims to reduce the tariffs on environmentally friendly goods, like those items which are environment friendly, eco-friendly, like the solar panels, wind turbines, and water filtration system. It will all be subsidized under this initiative. And it also seeks to promote trade in green technologies and to support global climate action. Now here we will be coming to the next one, that is it also focuses on the dispute settlement and environmental protection. And here the WTO dispute settlement mechanism addresses the trade related environmental issues, and under it we can see, for example, in the US shrimp case, the WTO ruled that trade measures to protect endangered sea turtles were permissible under certain conditions, that is just to balance trade liberalization with environmental goals. Then we can also see that WTO also aligns itself with the sustainable development goals, particularly with the goal 13, that is about climate action, and goal 14, that is about life below water. And WTO is basically ensuring these two by promoting trade policies that contribute to environmental sustainability. And here it also provides technical assistance to assist the developing countries, that is just to integrate their environmental considerations into trade policies. And lastly, that is about the capacity building and technical assistance. So here WTO offers capacity building programs to help the member states in aligning trade policies with the environmental objectives. And here these programs covers the many issues like sustainable agriculture, fisheries management, and also the renewable energy trade. So now we have come up to the next aspect of it, that is of today's lecture, that is regional organizations and transnational networks. And here we will be discussing the European Union, ASEAN, SAARC efforts for environmental protection. So here firstly we will begin with the European Union, and here we can see that European Union is a global leader in environmental protection with comprehensive policies and ambitious targets. As we have also discussed in the previous lectures when we are covering the portions of the emergence and origin of green parties as well as the environmental non-governmental organizations. So in this context, firstly we will be discussing the European Green Deal, which was launched in 2019. And here it is a very important initiative which aims to make Europe, whole of the Europe, the first climate neutral continent by the year 2050. And here it basically includes some of the major components like renewable energy, that is just to expand or to shift from traditional energy consumption to renewable energy through expanding solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources. Then after we can also see moving from traditional economy to circular economy, and that is basically based on three major components, that is recycling, reuse, and sustainable production. And lastly, that is biodiversity strategy, which is very important component of European Green Deal because it focuses on protecting the ecosystems and halting the biodiversity loss. Secondly, we can see that European Union has also fixed some of the climate targets, and here we can see that EU is quite committed to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by the year 2030 compared to the 1990s levels, and also trying to achieve the net zero emissions by 2050. Along with that, we can also see EU's role in environmental legislation, and here we can see that it has enforced stringent regulations on air and water quality, waste management, and chemical safety too. Now we will be coming to the next important regional organization, which is focuses on Southeast Asian nations, that is ASEAN. And here we can see that ASEAN has also prioritized environmental protection through its following initiatives. Like firstly, we can see the ASEAN Agreement on Transboundary Haze Pollution, which was signed in 2002, and this agreement basically addresses the haze pollution from forest fires, which are a recurring issue in the Southeast Asian region. Then after, we can see that ASEAN has also created ACB, that is the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, made in 2005, and here it basically works for the promotion of biodiversity conservation and sustainable development across the member states located in Southeast Asian region. Then we can see that ASEAN has also aligned itself with the sustainable development goals, and here its environmental initiatives with the SDG focusing on climate action, clean energy means green energy, and sustainable cities too. And lastly, we can see that it has also initiated different climate change initiatives. In this regard, we can see that ASEAN has launched programs that is just to enhance climate resilience, such as ASEAN Climate Resilience Network and also the ASEAN Peatland Forest projects. Now we will be coming to the third most important regional organization, that is of South Asia, as SAARC. And here we can see that SAARC has also recognized the importance of environmental protection and sustainability, and that's why it has also initiated different steps. Firstly, that is about the SAARC Environment Action Plan, which was adopted in 1997, and here we can see that it addresses the regional environmental issues like deforestation, water scarcity, that is in form of depletion of this water resource, natural resource, and air pollution. And it also emphasizes on the sustainable development, biodiversity conservation, and climate change mitigation. The second one is about the climate change initiatives, and here we can see the action plan of SAARC on climate change, that was of 2009, and here this plan outlines the regional strategies to address this problem of climate change, including these following initiatives, that is about enhancing resilience, that is to climate impacts such as floods, droughts, and rising sea levels. Along with that, it also working for the promotion of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and afforestation, that is a kind of contrary word to deforestation. And lastly, that is about the SAARC Meteorological Research Center, which was basically formed to support climate research and early warning systems to address extreme weather events. Thirdly, that is about the biodiversity conservation, and in this context, SAARC has made SAARC Forestry Center, which is located in Bhutan, and it basically promotes the sustainable forest management and biodiversity conservation across the South Asian region. Then the next in it is the regional cooperation, and here SAARC countries collaborate on trans-boundary conservation efforts like protecting the Himalayan ecosystem and shared river basins. Now we will be seeing the important initiatives of SAARC in the field of disaster management. And here we can see, firstly, we can see the making of SAARC Disaster Management Center, which is located in India and focuses on disaster risk reduction and response, including the how to address the environmental disasters like floods, cyclones, and also the earthquakes. Along with that, it also covered the area of early warning systems, and it has basically developed as regional early warning system for natural disasters like cyclone, tsunami, earthquake, etc. And that is just to enhance the preparedness and resilience of the member states. And now we will be coming to the last one, that is about that how SAARC has also aligned itself with the sustainable development goals, as we have seen in the previous regional organizations too. And particularly, SAARC has associated itself with the SDG goal of 13 and 15. 15 is about life on land, that is just to promote the sustainability and poverty reduction. And now here we have come up with the most important aspect of today's lecture, that is the what are the role of non-state actors. So if we will see the background of the emergence of non-state actors, so here we can see that the process of globalization has considerably weakened the traditional governance processes. As we all know that how the process of globalization, due to the process of LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization, it has created a complex interdependence and also promoted the free flow of everything, whether it is the technology, human beings, capital, etc. So in this regard, we have seen that how the process of globalization has like weakened the nation state system. So in this background, we can see that increasing global economic integration, which has reduced the power of states, nation states as national governments, while granting other economic and political actors access to the world stage. And in this regard, we can see that the states and the international organizations have long been established features of international affairs, and it is only in the post Cold War era that we have experienced a kind of noticeable rise in terms of the numbers and influence of non-state actors. Along with that, we can see that these agents have begun playing a very important, significant and different role in how governance is beyond the state unfolds, especially in the realm of climate change. In this context, we can see that NGOs and other civil society groups are not only the stakeholders in the governance, but they are also playing the role of a driving force behind greater international cooperation through their different initiatives like active mobilization of public support for international agreements too. And here we can see that IEL, that is International Environmental Laws, has presented a very useful vehicle for the study of NGOs, civil societies, relatively new era of intensive regulation. So its institutional features are not only being mapped out but can also reflect the evolving role of NGOs in a way that more entrenched regimes cannot. Now we have come up to the most important portion of this role of non-state actor, that how they are playing an important role in global environmental governance. So here we can see that basically the first one is collecting, disseminating and analyzing the information. And here the non-state actors like civil society organizations or the environmental INGOs gather critical environmental data, raise public awareness through campaigns, and also provides expert analysis to inform policymakers and communities too about the pressing ecological issues. Along with that, we can see its role in providing input to agenda setting and policy development processes. And here, the non-state actors influences global environmental agendas through their participation in international forums at several levels like UN climate summits, proposing policy solutions and ensuring marginalized voices that are included further in the decision making. Thirdly, we can see their role in performing the operational functions, and here they implement grassroots projects like reforestation, clean energy initiatives, and partnered with the governments and IGOs, intergovernmental organizations, that is just to execute sustainability programs on the ground level. Fourthly, we can see that they are also assessing environmental conditions and monitoring compliance with environmental agreements. And here the non-state actors track government and corporate adherence to environmental treaties. Like we can take the example of Paris Agreement, or before that the Kyoto Protocol, and they try to expose violations through independent audits and reports of climate change initiatives. And lastly, they also advocates for the environmental justice, that is in form of advocacy. And here the non-state actors plays a very important role. And here how they play an important role, so that is here we can see through the campaigning for equitable resource distribution, protecting indigenous rights, and also holding polluters accountable through the legal activism like litigation, and through public mobilization or public protest. So now here we can see some of the examples of the non-state actors as INGOs and CSOs. INGOs means international non-governmental organizations, and CSOs are civil society organizations that all are working globally, especially in the field of environmental protection, conservation and climate action. So here we can see WWF, which we have discussed in the previous lectures too, that focuses on biodiversity conservation, climate change and sustainable development. Another important name is Greenpeace, and it is also known for activism against deforestation, pollution and climate change. Then here it is TNC, that is the Nature Conservancy, and it works on land and water conservation and climate solution. Along with that, we can see FOE, which we have also seen in the previous lectures, and I have referred it several times, and it advocates for environmental justice and sustainable policies. Now here we can see another one is like CI, that is Conservation International, which basically protects the ecosystems and working for the promotion of sustainable development. Then here it is, and another example is of 350.org, that basically works for the grassroots movements and fighting against climate change and fossil fuel industries. In this regard, another important example is of Sierra Club, which basically focuses on clean energy, wildlife protection and environmental policies. In the same way, Environmental Defense Fund also addresses the climate change, ocean health and pollution. And lastly, the World Life International, which basically works in the field of the protection of birds and their habitats globally. So these are the activity questions of today's lecture, and in which the very first question is, what do you mean by international environmental organizations, which I have discussed in the very beginning. Then the second question is about examine the role of United Nations Environment Program, which I have also discussed. Then the third one is promoting recycling, reuse and sustainable production is called, and here you have to answer this, which I have also mentioned in the slides. And lastly, name 4 non-state actors, those who are working in the field of environmental protection. These are the references which you all may use as further reading. Thank you.